Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Beyond the Bell. It is Wednesday, March 27th, 2024. It is 60 seconds after the bell, which means it's time to go beyond the news, beyond the charts, and beyond the bell. Brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at the Blue Sky Trading Company for the clearest path to a live brokerage account, live trading every day with Mike in the Discord, and this awesome show. You have no reason to go anywhere else for education, for your trading account, for your brokerage account, and whatever else you may need. Like I've heard our good friend Josh makes a really mean Manhattan, which I'm looking forward to someday. I don't know where I came up with that. I just randomly threw that out there. But a big special hello to our good friends Josh and Raj back at the home office in Grand Rapids, Michigan today, and we always appreciate the work they do, both in front of and behind the scenes, and as always. So, with that in mind, boy, did we have a good show yesterday. I highly encourage you guys, if you didn't see yesterday's show, make sure you go check it out. We got into a lot of different topics, a lot of different things to talk about, and I'm going to follow up on a couple of those today once we get through the market big picture. And speaking of, guys, it is time to go to the big picture, and we, as always, this is an interactive show, so any questions you have, make sure to put them in the chat. Hello there, Tyler, Mike, Brian, Tiana, Souflane, R-I-A-N-A, excuse me. Brian, always nice to see Brian bringing the peppers today. We got the bells, we got the peppers. I'm a big fan of bell peppers. Trying to remember which HelloFresh I'm eating tonight. See if they'll be. They seem to put bell peppers in all of them, which is cool. I love them. Let's go, right? So, boy, today's markets was interesting. I'm gonna sum up today's markets very, very quickly. All right. So, market opens. We head down. Yeah, we're making new lows. I think we're heading lower. Blah 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 blah. 4 hours of consolidation, and then, if I may use internet shorthand, LOL, JK, right? Just kidding. We're going to rally up. We're going to do the opposite of what we did yesterday, right, where we just randomly just skyrocketed or shot down in the last half hour. Today, we're going to make a huge move in the first half hour and then give you nothing for the better part of 4 hours, and then we're going to give you a huge move right into the close. Wow. Like, this is this is just a giant U, right? That's all this is. Very, very interesting. Kind of fun to watch, and it's we'll break this down. We'll take a look at the 4 hour. First of all, I've just been informed to make sure I announce that we are doing a giveaway tomorrow. I'll be giving away some things as well, so make sure you show up for that. Yeah, so for me, it was an interesting day. And Paul, I was actually kind of the opposite of you. I had a really nice trade to start the day, right? And then I had one pretty large winner, one break-even trade, and one small loser, right? So really, technically 2 of the 3 trades were profitable, but I think I made $70 in the second trade, so I consider that a break-even. So it just goes to show you guys, really, one of my 3 trades was what I would consider a winner today, and I ended up with a pretty nice day. Low-volume trading day, just not a whole lot going on, and I've told you guys yesterday, the last half hour, I'm down here prepping for the show, getting everything, make sure the lights are set up, all the good stuff, and so I don't trade power hour usually anyway. But boy, power hour traders yesterday and today, you guys have eaten, right? You guys have been fed. So what does this mean in terms of the big picture, right? What does this mean in terms of kind of where the markets are in general? So I try to give you guys a little bit of a thesis headed into the next trading day, right? Like I always do try to say, and you guys know, and we're right far more often than we're wrong on this show. And I just try to give you guys a little direction. Like, here's what I'm looking for. I think yesterday I told you if we open up above a certain level, I'm bullish. Below a certain level, I'm bearish. And really, we open kind of right at that level. And then, other than one strong push down, one strong push up, we didn't. There wasn't a whole lot of movement through a large part of the day, right? And so we get into this situation where, in theory, right, like, so just 10,000 foot view looking down, we did make a little bit of a base here, and we did push back up over this zone, okay? However, these last couple of days, really, other than the move for the last half hour today, we've done 2 things. We've been flat or we've gone down. And I don't want to call what we're seeing here a trend, but What is the technical definition of a trend, guys? What is it? What is let's see if somebody in the chat can tell. What is the technical definition of a downtrend? So specifically a downtrend. What is the definition? If you watch this show regularly, you should know that. And I know we're on a little bit of a delay, so I'm gonna give you guys a couple of seconds to answer that while I conveniently take a drink of water. Let's see if Drawdown. Nice to see you, Mike and Drawdown. I see you guys are our moderators here in the YouTube chat. Welcome, as always. Okay, yeah, Regina. Regina's half right. Lower lows. What's the other part of it? Lower lows, lower highs. Brian, Regina, you guys get the gold stars for today. So yeah, so look at our highs here within this pattern. Each one is lower than the last. Look at our lows. Technically, I guess you can put one there, put one there, put one there, put one here, a little bit here as well. So technically, guys, we're in a downtrend. Now, is this the neatest downtrend in the world? Am I going to argue with somebody who says we're more neutral than downtrend? No. But again, this is the technical definition of a downtrend. So So I'm just going to say this for tomorrow I think tomorrow could be a fun day, right? Because we do have, I believe, a CPI print. Let's double check that as long as we're here. By the way, for those of you that use TradingView, I love this update that has this really nice news feature here. It just gives you, and I haven't played around with the filtering yet, but I'm assuming we can do quite a bit of filtering on this. So we do have some our normal Thursday, but we have PMI. PMI price man, so the word price is in it, so there is some inflation stuff there. I'm not sure it's a huge oh my God, this is a watershed moment. Not as much as the PPI and the consumer confidence and things we've been seeing that tie a little closer directly to inflation. But this is still something that's going on and going into a long weekend, right? So I know technically some markets are open half day or whatever on Friday, but for all intents and purposes, the big money's not going to be playing, right? The big money's going to be off the board for that day. I guess if you're somebody that has strategies that'll work that day, good for you. But if you're somebody who's struggling, take Friday and relax a little bit, right? And just sort of decompress, which is actually kind of the topic we're going to be getting into momentarily. It's really tough for me to say that we're in a downtrend, even though technically that's what we are. Now, the ES is a little more interesting, right? In the ES here, let's get our little area of resistance up here. Yeah, I can fix that later. So we are coming close to new all-time highs in the ES. ES performing a little better overall than the NQ. Renko helped you with the chop today, CBR. Yeah, well, the Renko was a mess, right? And again, this just kind of goes to show. I mean, this shows you exactly what here, let's get rid of the drawings since that was stuff from, this big downward move, consolidation, big upward move. Now, to be fair, we like to see downward moves followed by consolidation, followed by upward moves. We just don't necessarily want to see 4 hours in between where we tune out and we move on to other things, right? So, yeah, I hesitate. I want to go back to the 4 hour of the NQ. I hesitate to definitively say I'm basically, I guess, very short-term neutral heading into tomorrow. But I sort of maintain if we make another run down here at the 500 level, right? And we're not that far above it now. If we get back below 400 and kind of the 475, 450 area, I think we very well could break out below this zone tomorrow if the PMI number doesn't affect, anything, in a huge manner. It's I could stare at this all day and talk myself into thinking that we're going to do this and move right back towards highs, which technically speaking, since we've moved out of this lower zone, a test of the midpoint should be on deck, and above that, a test of the highs. Because really, we can play this all as one big zone. Yeah, I don't know. I just got to see where I'm most likely tomorrow. I see how the open goes. I sit out the first 15 to 20 minutes and let something, the last few days, guys, if you sit out the first half hour or the last half hour, there's just not a lot to do. But that's just, I mean, that's really just been this week. Now, the first half of the markets, we're moving around quite a bit usually, right? But that's really like there's been one move for most of the past few days. Obviously, we had the second move today right at the close. But yeah, but that doesn't mean we rush into trades, right? 2 or 3 days is not a trend make or a trend break in terms of how the market's going to behave. So I'm not just going to redefine everything that's been working for me for the last about 4.5 to 5 years in futures because the market has thrown me a couple of curveballs this week. Okay, and that, guys, that brings us to our lesson of the day. And I wanted to bring you in here to the studio to talk about this, right? Yesterday really got me thinking. So first of all, I know several of you sent some really kind messages yesterday about how this show's helped you out. And I really appreciate that, especially I've responded to a couple of them. I'll respond. There's a couple more I still have to catch up with. And that's great. I really appreciate that. And we talked yesterday about, having the right amount of stubbornness. As I've always said, when you get into trading, to be good at trading, you need to be stubborn enough not to quit, but not stubborn enough you're not willing to make changes when things aren't going right. Last Thursday, I did a in fact, actually, I believe our tech team pulled this out of last Thursday's video. It's like it's its own standalone video now. But I talked about how I put strategies through their paces, right? From the idea of, hey, I wonder if this would work. I have an idea, all the way to putting real money into it, right? And that's a long process. For me, that process can sometimes take 6 to 8 months, if not longer. Okay. And I talked to you about one of the strategies that I predominantly trade. In fact, the 3 trades I had today were all of this strategy, this RTT strategy that I teach and I work with clients on. And then I was looking into redoing the exit rules for the trade, right? The entries, how the pattern, none of that changed. But I was looking at having a more passive management system, meaning specifically I put the trade in, it already has bracket orders attached to us, a trailing stop loss, profit tranches all the way up. It was basically managing a trade in 4 steps, but doing it all, putting the orders in right away and then just kind of maybe managing the last little bit. Okay. And I've been working on that, guys, for about 3 solid weeks now, where in some cases trading just that and not taking my regular trades, which of course, cost you some opportunity money in a lot of situations, or trading side by side, right? I'm managing the trade, exact entries. I'm managing the trade as I normally manage it, and then I'm kind of going against the computer. So this was probably a dozen or more hours that I'd put into developing this, and a little bit of back testing, a little bit of forward testing, a little bit of eyeball testing, and then actual paper and some light real money trading on this. And I bring this up because I told you guys last week that sometimes you can go through all the steps in this process and ultimately say, you know what, I don't know if this is going to work. And I hit that point yesterday with this particular system. Okay. And again, it's just a portion of a larger system. The trade setup is still great. Love it. Everything is good. I just, I was wondering if I took my personal trade management out of this and put in some automatic trading management, would it help? And so I got to the point yesterday, really actually early this morning, where I said, you know what, I'm going to put this on the back burner for a little while. I'm not giving up completely on it, but this is part of what trading is, guys. Sometimes you can spend, guys, I've spent probably hundreds of hours over the last 10 years learning stuff that I just flat out don't use. Whether it's an indicator, a strategy, I learned a lot about specific stocks. I don't often trade stocks anymore. I do some long-term options, some leap stuff in my IRA, and I guess I would consider myself maybe a light swing trader in there. I really don't have more than 5 or 6 positions in that at any given time, which maybe is 10 to 15% of the capital in that account. But this isn't an investing show, so this is a trading show, so I won't get heavy into that. But a lot of the stuff I spent learning for the first 3 or 4 years of my career from a technical perspective, I don't use today, right? I don't really use RSI a lot today, which was something I used. I use a lot of Fibonacci retracement stuff, learning some of the SEC filings for small caps, learning about offerings and shelves and all that kind of stuff. And I don't use a lot of that. But I also learned a lot about candlesticks, and I sat and watched, hundreds of thousands of candles open and close on short-term time frames, long-term time frames, all of that. And I use that stuff religiously. You guys know what a big candlestick trader I am, and especially looking at candlesticks in conjunction with Renko's now gives me a pretty good snap idea of what the market's doing on a day-to-day basis. So it's you have to, this is the thing, guys. So many of you, sorry, mouth getting dry, are like me when I first started, okay? And guys, I know a lot of you guys in here are struggling, and I can't tell you like your time frame is going to be similar to my time frame or anything like that. But I can tell you, as somebody who's worked in the education side of this for about 8 years, we all follow similar paths. Now, we all have different starting points, but we typically all follow very similar paths to get to where we're trying to go in terms of being full-time traders and trading for a living. And when I got in, guys, we talked about this with Jared Tendler a couple weeks ago. I strategy jumped a lot. I was like, this was my mindset. Tell me, anybody that believes this, I want to see a 1, or believed this, I want to see a 1 or a yes or whatever in the chat. The attitude a lot of new traders have, myself included when I first started, is all I got to do is find that one strategy that works for me and everything will be fine. That's all. I don't need any of this other garbage. I don't need to learn, trading psychology. I just need that one perfect strategy for me. And then we find out that perfect strategy really doesn't exist. Doesn't mean there's not great ones. Okay, but we go around and we get into this mentality where, all we need is a strategy and everything's going to be fine. And yet, when study after study in this business, guys, prop firms, and I mean more traditional prop firms like in-house prop firms, not like Blue Sky and their much inferior competitors, that you can give somebody who's really emotionally equipped to trade a mediocre strategy and they will profit. And you can give somebody who just has no experience managing their emotions, who overtrades, oversizes, does whatever. You can give them a really, really good strategy that's time proven for maybe decades, and they'll screw it up somehow because the emotions come in and the emotions play a role. Okay. I want to catch up on the chat here. So, actually, let me just conclude this segment, and we will go right into our mailbag because you guys got some good comments there I want to get into. So part of this, guys, and I do a strategy session with my community Monday through Thursday, and in our earlier strategy session today, we were talking about emotions and stuff, and we're not going to go into all of this right now, but guys, I've had a lot of distractions going on outside the markets for about the last 2 weeks. Now, it's nothing horrible. In fact, everything is in the process of turning out all right, and nobody's, it wasn't life or death or anything like that, but just distraction, things going on that needed time, needed attention, invaded my thoughts a little bit sometimes, a little worries, a little staring at the ceiling at night. Again, nothing, 1 to 10, scale of major situations. It was probably a 5.5 to 6, but still, again, not life or death, but you guys get it. And so a lot of that in the last 24 to 48 hours has kind of started to button up in a good way. And so a lot of that is, but I realized that right when all this stuff was going on, I told myself, listen, dude, you're probably gonna have to back off your trading a little bit because, you're not sleeping as much. You're getting, the emotions are crackling up to the surface a little bit, and that's okay. So what I actually did, that's one of the reasons I started getting more active trading these alternative exit rules. So I said to myself, maybe I'm not emotionally equipped right now for my full trading load, my 3 to 5 trades a day, taking things with, without hesitation, without emotion, but I don't want to just waste the time because I'm not an idle person. I can't just, I do like to zone out and watch a movie or play a video game from time to time, but most of the time I like to be productive. I like to get things done. And so that's, where I started to do some of this testing. And so I look at it now, and I don't look at it as time wasted because I learned I'm already managing these trades pretty well. Okay. And so I'm even more sure now in my ability and what I do to be able to continue to move forward and go from that. All right, guys, so I want to get into the chat. This is going to be our trader mailbag, as we do so often. We're going to go ahead and do this just in the room, right? I haven't gotten any email questions, aren't stuff we've recently talked about. So, but I'll give you my email address later. You're always welcome to do that. Let me catch up on the chat here. Cheeky, hello. Hi, nice to see you. So Rich says, hi. I overtraded 46 NQ trades and lost my eval 50K account today. I was long 3 NQ and was liquidated at 402 or 5 points above the turning point. No luck today. Well, Rich, first of all, I get it, right? Like, you're probably pissed and frustrated. I understand. But in a lot of ways, guys, we make our own luck in the markets, right? Now, once we're in a trade, we have no control over where it's going to go, right? The only things we control in the markets, guys, are when we get into trades and when we get out. And obviously sometimes getting out is automatic when we're dealing with evals and liquidation points and stuff like that. Okay, the market doesn't force us to trade on any given day. So in a lot, I appreciate the statement what you're saying with bad luck. First of all, let me just say this. I think this is my personal opinion. Okay, I'm not a financial advisor. I can't say definitely do this. But for me, 3NQ is too big a position size for a $50,000 account where you're trying to make $3,000 before you lose a trailing drawdown of 2. Because, guys, 3NQs can whip you, you could be down 2K in 30, 45 seconds if the markets really move, right? So for me, that's just too, honest to God, if I were to start a 50K eval tomorrow, probably the highest position size I would be in would be about 15 micros. I wouldn't be trading minis. And the only reason I do my 15 micros as opposed to 1 or 2 minis because that allows me to scale out in thirds, which is something I'm starting to do more and more of, and is actually leading to a little more profit, unlike the other exit system that I put together. So again, and I guess it depends on how close you were to passing, because I've seen people that have gotten within $100 of passing and then blow out the account the next day because they're frustrated. Okay, so if you were, having some good success and maybe you just oversized, okay, then saddle up again and give it another go and maybe just adjust your position size. The other side of that, though, is if you weren't seeing consistent profit, and this is eval 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus for you, then I would seriously just kind of go back to the drawing board. Maybe not worry about it tomorrow, or you said next week, but yeah. That's a big position size. It really is. That's something I do in my personal account. That's my position size, 3NQ. And I've been doing this for a long time. Now, does that mean I'm going to stay at 3NQ? No, I want to be at 4 by the end of the year. But I take almost a full year to size up, guys. I first started doing micros, and actually there weren't a ton of micros available when I first started. And now, of course, they're adding more and more all the time to get more liquidity in the markets, get more participation. These prop firms like Blue Sky and their much inferior competition are, bringing a lot of new traders to the market. So micros are a lot more accessible, especially somebody who maybe just has a few $1,000s of their own money that they want to trade. So, yeah, it's a big position size. I would start by cutting. Usually, when somebody says, "Is this too big a position size?" the first thing I'll tell them is cut it in half, and that usually pisses a lot of people off. But that's normally, honest to God, and 3NQ is double 15 micros. Guys, if your position, nobody just slightly does too big of a position size, right? Like if somebody's brand new and I tell them I think they should trade about 5 micros, nobody does 5 micros or should be doing 5 micros and is doing 7, right? They should be doing 5 micros and they're doing 4 minis, right? Like that, guys, it's so, well, this may be a little out of context word, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's so seductive when you're trading well and you just automatically think, oh boy, I'm trading 2 minis and I'm making $1,200 a day. If I go up to 6 and all of a sudden I'm making $3,500 a day, whatever, right? And in reality, we don't consider the downside of that. We don't consider that, and this was something as I've increased in the past 6 months from 2 minis to 3 minis. I used to never see $1,000 losers. I would refuse to accept a $1,000 loser. If I got down, and I didn't have a ton that got down there, but if I got down and it's looking, 800, 900, I'm getting out of the trade because I don't want to. I pride myself on not taking 4-figure losers. Well, when you essentially, I increased my position size 50%, going from 2 to 3 minis. I see some $1,000 losers now. Thankfully, not many of them, but I have to be able to accept losses like that to be able to accept the bigger wins that all that comes with, right? It's a whole, newer traders, I'm no different. Guys, I did all of this. If you've made a mistake 5 times in this in the markets, guys, odds are I made it 20. Okay, I was the walking embodiment of the old phrase, I never make the same mistake twice. I make it 5 or 6 times just to be sure, right? And that was me. Still is sometimes outside of trading, but at least I'm smart enough to not do that in trading anymore. But NQ is a monster. It absolutely is a monster. I think what was it that we said, like a chimpanzee on meth is basically one of the best ways to describe the NQ. Now, I understand why people trade it, and it's what I predominantly trade because, it does provide a lot of opportunity for quick profit, but it all, guys, honestly, the NQ is the big leagues. There's nothing wrong with starting, in baseball, you start in rookie ball, single A ball. There's nothing wrong with starting in like the RTY or the ES. Honestly, starting the micro ESs is a great place for newer traders to cut their teeth. And, but any trader who comes in and is immediately trading mini NQ contracts, like, I just want to be like, right? Yeah, I could go off on that, but we're running out of time here. How much is okay to lose per trade day on a 50K account? So again, my personal opinion, I would not take any with a $2,000 trailing loss, right? I would probably cut myself off for the day down $500. Okay. Try to make $700-800 a day. Well, you can't make more than 800 with the consistency rule. So maybe even less. Let's say try to make $600 a day versus $350 or $400 losses, right? So you hit either one of those, and you stop for the day, right? So that's just kind of my off the top of my head calculations there. But you shouldn't be getting anywhere near the daily drawdown limit, anywhere near it. Yeah. In fact, that's no, definitely not. Mike says, my goal is $400 a day consistently. I would be close to six figures. Micros are best for my goals. That's right, Mike. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great place to start. And when you begin to increase that, now if your goal is $400 a day and you're done trading when you hit that, and you're hitting that all the time, then only then do you raise it. Like I had a guy one time who set a $500 daily goal, right? And he hit it once out of like 8 days, right? And the other days he hit it once, and then he hit it 2 days in a row. He's like, well, I'm going up to 1,000, right? No, when you hit it consistently, when you can hit that on 60% of your days, 75% of your days, then you raise it up. And you don't raise it from $400 to $900, right? You go from $400 to $500, maybe to $700, then maybe to that, right? Like, it should take plenty of time to ease up. But yeah, Mike, you've got the absolute right idea with that, and I wish you the best of luck on that, especially because you're here every day. Philip says, if you're stressed out about the trade, you're oversizing. Yeah, honestly, guys, so now I try to be in trades for several minutes, right? Like, my average hold time is probably only 5 to 6 minutes, so it's pretty short in general, but I'm still looking for bigger moves, and I do sometimes end up in a trade for an hour. Here's what I always say. Just a good rule of thumb. When I was a swing trader, I learned one of my mentors told me, he says, if you're staring at the ceiling, worried about your position in the middle of the night, your position size is too big, whether it's option stocks, whatever the case may be. So I like to do what I call the coffee test when it comes to a position. Now, I don't often do this, okay? But my attitude is, if my office is on the ground floor of my house, and so I have a living room, family room, office, half bath, kitchen, okay? And it's kind of in a circle. So it takes me about 10 seconds to walk to the kitchen. And then, get a cup of coffee, brew it. I've got a little pod, the Keurig thing. Pour in a little creamer, a little sweetener, and then walk back to my desk. That whole process takes about 2 to 3 minutes. So my attitude is, if I don't feel like I could stand up and go get a cup of coffee and come back, that my position size is too big. Now, sometimes what I will do is I will set a position size, or I'll get into the trade, and then I'll set my stop loss, my full stop loss, and I'll set, like, again, let's say 3 minis. I will set a full 3 mini exit stop loss, and then I'll put a limit order above, the first area where I want to sell, right? And then I'll turn my speakers up. I'll go, get a cup of coffee, make some toast, whatever. And if I hear a trade trigger, then I immediately go back and make sure, okay, if I stopped out of the trade, I'm done. Then it doesn't need any more management. Cancel all open orders and go get my toast. Or if it hits my initial profit target, I'll adjust my stop, and then I'll set my next profit target, and then I'll go get my toast. So, but it's like I said, the coffee test. If you don't think you could stand up, pour yourself a cup of coffee, and come back and sit down in the 1 to 3 minutes that will take, and you'll blow out your account in those 2 or 3 minutes, your position size is too big. End of discussion. End of story. So, guys, that seems like a great place to end our show today. Tomorrow's Thursday. You guys know what that means. Really, tomorrow's Friday, right? Because the market's closed on Friday. So Blue Skies informed me they're giving away some things. I'm informing you I will be giving away some things. I haven't decided what yet. We'll see what kind of mood I'm in tomorrow. I may be generous, or I may be feeling very Scrooge McDuck tomorrow. Let's see. It's 24 hours away. 23 and a half. All right, guys. Shower test. Well, that sounds interesting. All right, guys. It's been a day. But the day is over. It is hump day. We are over the hump. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of Beyond the Bell. Tomorrow is Giveaway Thursday. I can't wait to see you there. Have a great rest of your day. Good night.